Hello, my name is Chris Armentrout. I have been tasked with implementing a mechanic designed by one of my peers into this tile-based game project. The mechanic I've introduced is the spike trap. This mechanic was originally designed by Richard Hutchinson. The spike trap tile, when stepped on by the player, will kill the player and restart the level. The player can avoid the spike trap by maneuvering around the level and using the interactable box to cover up the spike trap. When the box or another object is moved onto the spike trap does not engage and prevents the player from moving onto the spike trap tile. I have used this mechanic in combination with the swap tiles mechanic that I created in the navigator portion of this project. I've utilized these two mechanics to create challenges for the player to navigate through the level and make it to the win condition. You'll be able to see these two in combination along with the slide tile that we implemented in the beginning of this project. As you progress through the levels, you'll see that the puzzles get a little bit more challenging and a little bit more nuanced to make it more difficult for the player. And here we'll up it just a little bit more, so if the player was to try and go around, they'll land on the spike trap. So we need to cover up the spike trap to move around. And now, if the player was to go through, you'll notice that the solution here is to move the interactable box over the spike trap so that we can then push it onto the next spike trap to be able to get to our win condition. So now I will show off the spike trap tile itself. So this is what it looks like in the editor. So we have a basic floor tile to start with. Change the color to red to indicate danger or damage to differentiate from the other tiles on the map. We have spikes sitting underneath the floor here that, when animated, spike up and kill the player. I also added the audio component to give player feedback. All of our spikes were created with cones, and we have them spread out across the surface of the tile. They are controlled by just one cone, so it's easier to use the animation when we just move one as opposed to trying to move all of them. Um, then we have a basic plane for the floor for the player or the box to move on to, as well as the original basic tile that we have. In the event graph, we are only utilizing the event on entered. So when something enters onto the tile, we use the parent to get all of the information from the parent, which is the tile floor, which actually has nothing in it. It's just utilizing all of the information from the original tile, and that carries over to our spike trap via the floor tile. So once something enters onto the tile, we check to see if the object that is entering it is the player. If it is not, then we do nothing. Um, if it is the player, we disable the player's input from getting the player's pawn. Then we play the spike sound audio that you were hearing when the spikes animate. Then we do a animation timeline, uh, run a timeline to move the spikes up and down. We get the spike root, which controls the original cone, which controls all the other cones, and we set the relative location of it. We have a spike down location, which is the original location that you see in the viewport here, which is 0, 0, negative 45. Then we have the spike up location, which moves it up into the 0, 0, 0 location, which would be here. And we use a lerp vector to handle all of those and handle our alpha. So we're just moving from a down position into an up position. So from 0, 0 up to 0, 1 in a smooth movement. Once this timeline is finished, we then go to the game over screen and we have a slight little delay. We get the game mode, cast it to BP tile game mode. We tell the BP tile game mode to run the game over, and that would come over here. It adds our game over widget to the viewport, tells the game over widget to run its fade to black event. We have a delay of 5.5 seconds, and then we remove that off of the screen. And the game over widget has a canvas panel, a border, a vertical box for our text of "you lose, game will restart shortly," and then it runs our animation of fade to black of playing the "you lose," and that is just with a simple play fade to game black over animation. So the tile game mode gets told to play that. It tells game over widget to fade to black. And then we reset the map to the start of the map. And that is everything that entails the spike trap tile. I also have a event on exit, but this is not really getting used because if the player gets onto it, we're already running the locking the player and then playing the game over and resetting the map. So this wasn't really getting used at all, but it does animate in a reverse direction. So it goes from up to down if we were to utilize that for something else in the future. Thank you all very much, and I hope you all have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this.